These are the 7 most important numbers that you need to know if you want to build financial wealth. And if you don't know at least the first 2, it doesn't matter how much money you make, you will always be financially stressed. Don't worry, you didn't have to graduate calculus with an A+ to be able to do these things. If you can do multiplication, subtraction, and division, you're going to be just fine. But before I walk through all these numbers with you, I have a little bit of a gift. If you go to the description below and you click on the link, you can download a document that has all of these formulas ready to go for you for free. All right, so the first one that we are going to go through is net worth. So there's a comic I saw a long time ago that I really loved about this, and it was a whole bunch of people walking around, and then they had a number floating on top of their head that talked about what their net worth was. And then there were some people that looked really rich, and it turned out they actually weren't. And I just think that would be really cool if we could do that in real life, but we can't. So net worth is extremely easy to calculate as long as we know these 2 numbers. Total assets minus total liabilities. If you don't remember, our assets are just going to be things like our cars, the equity that we have in our house, art and collectibles, whatever the case may be. And then liabilities are just going to be things that you owe, like cars or debt, credit cards, whatever the case is. And by the way, you're not allowed to comment and make fun of my handwriting, okay? I'm doing the best I can. This is a new pen to me. But you are allowed to comment and tell me if you like this kind of setup and doing these kind of doodle things. If you do, then I'll keep doing more of them. So like I said, this is pretty straightforward. If a person has $500,000 in assets and they have $300,000 in liabilities, then we just subtract them, and that person's net worth is $200,000. There you go. The reason we want to know this number every once in a while is because it gives us a snapshot into our financial health, and it kind of helps tracks how we're doing over time. Now, there is one question about net worth that everybody asks me, and it's totally valid. And that is, if you are a homeowner, do you include the equity that you have in the home, but not how much you still owe on it? And to that, I just say, just calculate both numbers. It's good to know what your net worth is if you whatever the extra liability is still on your house, right? But at the same time, if you're ever going to sell your house and cash in on that, then that liability is going to go away. So it's helpful to know, but really it can be a little depressing sometimes because that can take you down into a negative number since a lot of people still owe a lot on their homes. So I just say do both, calculate it with it, without it. I promise you, you're going to like the number without it a lot more. All right, the next most important number that we have, if you want to reduce your financial stress, is going to be your monthly cash flow. And like I told you, these numbers are really easy to calculate. We're looking for monthly income minus monthly expenses. I'm pretty sure my son, who's in the 1st grade, could do the math on this one. Now, obviously, if you don't know this number, then we have a bigger problem, and that means you need to make a budget. So what I would recommend is going back down to the description, and there's another link where you can download my budget template that thousands of people use and absolutely love. It's really easy. So go check it out, fill that out, and then you can calculate this number. But we're going to move forward like you're a responsible adult and go ahead and do the calculation. All right. So if you have $7,000 of income coming into your bank account, and then every month you have $5,500 of expenses of cash going out of your bank account, then that means that you have $1,500 left over to figure out where that money needs to flow out. And preferably, we like it to go to something like, investments or debt, or my personal favorite, fun stuff. And the reason this number matters should be super obvious. We want to make sure that we're living within our means, we're not going into debt, and really we want to make sure that there's enough money left over in our cash flow to where we can spend that money in ways that is going to help us build the life that we want. Send that money out. It needs to be working for you, not against you. All right, this next one took me a really long time to write out, and that is our debt to income ratio. Now, don't freak out. This might look a little complicated, but it's not. All right, so I'm going to take it back to like 4th grade math and FOIL method. At least I think it was 4th grade. I don't remember. I was homeschooled. So $1,500 divided by 6,000 is the part that we're going to do first. And when you do that, we're going to come out with 0.25, and then we're multiplying it by 100 just so we can get a percentage. So that gives us a DTI of 25%. The reason this number is really important is because anytime you go to a credit card company or bank to get a loan, this is the number that they're going to kind of use to calculate what your debt load currently is. And if the number's too high, they're either going to give you a worse interest rate or they're going to reject your loan altogether. So you want to make sure that your DTI is as low as possible anytime you're trying to go for a loan. So the next one is a really easy one, and that is our savings rate. So if you or a bank or whoever are ever wondering how much of your income you're actually saving, this is how we figure that out. So you get your monthly savings and then you divide that by your monthly income. Sorry, I made a mistake. I forgot we're making this a percentage, so I had to add the times 100 there. So if we are saving $1,000 a month and our household income is $6,500, then what that does is it gives us a number of 0.20. And then if we take that, multiply it by 100, you guessed it, you guys are so smart, 20% is our savings rate. All right, so this next one has a tiny little bit of controversy around it, and that is the Financial Foundation amount, aka the emergency fund. And the controversy is that I cannot stand that term because we also use the term emergency fund for, if you're a fan of Dave Ramsey, he likes to say $1,000. If you're a fan of me, you know that I like to say $2,500 because I adjust that for inflation. So whatever it is, that's really just meant to pay for some tires that got popped or like a quick medical bill that came up or whatever. That's what that number is, okay? To me, when you get to the Financial Foundation amount, which is 6 to 12 months of your monthly expenses saved, it does so much more than help you in times of emergency. It really is the foundation that skyrockets your wealth. So your Financial Foundation amount is your current monthly expenses times 6 to 12 months. And the way you choose that number is just by deciding whatever is going to give you peace and reduce your financial stress. That's the number you want to go with. And the reason we want to calculate this at your existing monthly expenses is because we know that if the worst were to happen and you lost all sources of your income all of a sudden, you're probably going to cut back on your lifestyle and you could probably stretch it out a little bit more. But if we calculate it where it's at right now, you're going to know that in the back of your head and it's going to give you security. Now, the reason we don't want to do more than 12 months is because in most of the worst case scenarios, that's going to be plenty to cover us. And if we need something longer, we probably have insurance that's going to kick in at that point. And what we really need is any money that is sitting in our bank that's more than these 12 months, it needs to be invested in the market in making money for us. So let's say my expenses are $5,000 a month to maintain my current lifestyle. And I don't feel like 6 is enough, but I don't really feel like I need 12. So 8 months feels about right to me. Well, if I come in here and I write 8, that's going to be $40,000. So what I need to do is I need to create a separate savings account, and then I need to make this my number one priority financially. And that is going to be putting money away and building up my financial foundation. Because once I have that $40,000 in there and I have this financial foundation, I'm able to walk away from toxic workplaces because I know I can find another job and I've got money to live. I can start taking a little bit more risk in my investments and potentially getting higher returns. And it also enables you to do things like follow your dream. Maybe you wanted to go and actually start a business or do something like that. Well, when you have a financial foundation that's set, you know that there's runway there in case the worst were to happen and things didn't work out. That is why I call it a financial foundation and not an emergency fund. It's so much more than just taking care of emergencies. It's setting us up for the life that we want. The next one is your credit score. And that's not really something that we can calculate here. So instead, I'm going to show you the scale of how things are done. Because trust me, it can be really mysterious until you see a breakdown like this. So if you don't know your credit score and you want to be able to find it out, if you have a credit card somewhere, the easiest thing that you can do is log in, and normally they will offer a free report that will give you some type of number in this range. Now, there's two things I really want you to pay attention to right here, and that is the fact that 65% of your credit score comes down to your payment history, aka are you making your credit card and loan payments on time, and then the amounts owed. And that's going to go back to our debt to income ratio. The next biggest category is 15%, and that's how long your length of credit history is. So this is actually a weird one to me. I kind of get it, but I had a credit card that I opened up since college, and some great advice I got from a millionaire friend of mine was that even if I stop using it, I should never close it. So I never did. And that recently became like over 15 years that I've had that credit card, and I got a huge credit bump because of it. So even though I literally never use the card, it's chopped up, there hasn't been a transaction on it in over a decade, I'm still getting the benefit for it because this is how it works. Hey, I don't make the rules, I just break them. So I'm not going to go too much into detail about what makes your credit score go up and down, but what I want you to just focus on for this is that you want to make sure that you are somewhere in the 700, 750 to 850 range. We want that good to excellent kind of range in order to get the best interest rates, because that's the only reason that this matters. If you want to get a mortgage loan or a car loan or a credit card, anything like that, you are going to pay more money to the bank in interest if you are in this fair section, or especially in this bad section. If you're over here in very bad, you're probably not getting a loan at all, so it doesn't even matter. But the point is, that is why it's so important to be over here in the green, because it's less money we have to pay to borrow money because they trust that we're going to be able to pay them back. All right, and the last number that we want to make sure that we really understand, especially when we are in wealth building mode, is going to be our investment returns. Now, this is definitely a multi-step calculation, but it's really important because if you invest in stocks, a lot of times this can be calculated for you on whatever trading platform that you're using. But if you invest in other assets like real estate or collectibles, like I collect Pokemon cards and basketball cards and different things like that, if I'm investing in one of these, then I want to make sure that I understand over time if they're appreciating or depreciating and what the rate of it is. So let's walk through the first, second, and then third step to figure out what that is. Again, it's not that complicated. Don't freak out. You didn't need to know trigonometry for this. I'm just going to write it all out on one screen. So like I said, I collect things like basketball cards and Pokemon cards, and it's easy for us to calculate stock. So I want to do a fun example with this. So let's say I invested in this first edition holographic Charizard that is rated a PSA 10. Right now, this card is currently going online for about 250,000 American dollars. Yeah, that's not yen, ladies and gentlemen. That is dollars for that piece of very expensive cardboard. So from looking it up on the marketplace, I can see that it's currently going for $250,000. And let's say the initial value of this was $150,000. That's what I bought the card for. So what we can do is come in and see that I now have about $100,000 that I am currently up on this investment. So then the next step of this is I am going to divide that again by the initial value, which was $150,000. So I'm going to take this, and then to figure out how much I'm in the red or the green, we will divide this, and then the number that we come up with equals 0.667, or repeating. So when we take that and then times it by 100 to get our fraction, that pretty much gives us about a 60% return 67% return that we have made on this investment in a very expensive Pokemon card. Lifestyle design is not all about money, but understanding where our finances are and making sure that we're utilizing our resources to the best of our abilities is going to help us reach our goals in life faster than if we just kind of winged it. So if you have a pretty good understanding as to what these numbers are in your own personal life, and at least have the first two on lockdown, it is going to boost your wealth and your earning capacity over your lifetime. And if you want to stay on top of these numbers, you can go to the description below and download the document that has all 7 of these with examples and walkthroughs for free, and it links back to this video in case you ever need it.